Gentlemen, let's broaden our minds.
The truth shall set you free.
You can't handle the truth.
We came, we saw, we kicked its ass.
That's not how the Force works. Oh, really? You're cold?
I'm gonna make him an offer again.
I'd buy that for $1.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your concentration?
Hasta la vista, baby.
I don't have friends. I got family.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
I can do this all day.
Yeah, I know.
Hello and welcome to the Creative Control Podcast. I'm your host, Kenan Akbulut, and thank you for joining us for episode 15. This week's topic is Star Wars and what's next. Joining me for today's show from the Creative Control team, we have Sasha, Neil, and Sal. How are you doing, gentlemen?
I'm good.
Very good. How are you?
We are good. We are good. Finally out of lockdown in some ways. So life is getting a little bit different. Finally got a haircut. So life is feeling good. So as I said, today's episode is about Star Wars. And in particular, we're going to be talking about the movies. Obviously, we're not necessarily going to touch on the original trilogy or the prequel trilogy. But we are going to talk about a little bit about since obviously Disney purchased Lucasfilm and what they've kind of done with it. So they were pretty much promised us a movie every year, and up to 2020 they had delivered on that. So we had The Force Awakens, which was released in 2015, generally really well received. There was some criticism obviously with the comparisons of The New Hope, but for me I really enjoyed it. And I went and saw it in the cinema a couple of times. But then we had Rogue One in 2016, and I think again that was really well received for something that wasn't part of the main storyline, but it kind of fit in obviously in that gap and filled this kind of story plot hole that had been existing for years. And then we had 2017, The Last Jedi. That's probably the first film that really split audiences and fans in terms of how that was received. And again, Rise of Skywalker 2019 kind of did the same. Also kind of in there, 2018, we had Solo, which didn't really do anything at the box office. It got released in sort of like a May release, which was kind of unusual for a Star Wars movie. And I think a lot of the sour taste from The Last Jedi kind of influenced people going to see that. A lot of people didn't like the idea of anyone playing Solo other than Harrison Ford either. So kind of, that was the movie universe, and there was lots of disappointment, some highs. But then obviously Disney Plus, we got treated to the Mandalorian series, which is just amazing. And I don't know if there's any people out there who don't like that show. I haven't personally met or spoken to them, but it kind of filled us with hope again. Like it was like, well, what could have been with the films if the right people were in charge, but also gives us hope for the future. I think so. Today, what I want to kind of talk about is what we want from the movie universe moving forward. What kind of films do we want to see, and the stories that we kind of want to we would tell. So first of all, let's just quickly pick up on some of those films that we've spoken about that Disney has released. So The Force Awakens, that was the first big one. Did huge numbers at the box office, got new generations involved, old generations. How did you guys feel about The Force Awakens?
I was good with it, man. I was good with it.
I found it. I liked it, but I kind of got irritated by the fact that I saw scenes from all the original trilogy films popping in every now and again. Like, that's from there, that's from there, that's from there. So in a way, it was like a nice movie to that kind of like gave you what I call the best of the hits, the best hits,
greatest hits, yeah,
greatest hits. And for that, it was good, but there was nothing really original about it.
That's why I loved it, because I felt like the way I was looking at it when I went to see, it was like, when I went to see The Force Awakens, I had no real expectations. I was just like, please just be a good film. Please just be a good Star Wars film and leave me good. And it was, and then it wasn't until like the second or maybe the third time that I watched it in the cinema, because I watched it a few times, like that I really started to be like, oh yeah, you know what? This reminds me of A New Hope, and this reminds me of, and it was like you saw, I was seeing it, and I was like, yeah, that's like this, and that's like this. And what it made me think was basically just, this is the way to ease people back into Star Wars. Because I'm like, if your only experience of Star Wars is the films, like you never watched Clone Wars, you never watched Rebels, you never watched anything other than the movies, then the last movie you saw was 2003.
Yeah.
Right. So I'm like, this is like a gentle,
Unfortunately.
this is like, you know, to ease you back in to Star Wars. And I was like, nah, you did an excellent job, because it gave you all the old emotional feels that come with those films. And then it was like, okay, we showed you what you love. Now we're gonna move on.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's what I thought was gonna happen.
Sasha, how did you feel about The Force Awakens?
I really enjoyed it. I mean, yeah, okay. First, let's get stuff out the way first. Yeah, is it 100%? No, it's not. But it was a competent movie. I enjoyed it. It was a great fun popcorn ride. I wanted to see it again and again. Yeah, it retreaded story beats from A New Hope for sure. But then I totally got going in. This is the Disney studio version, not the George Lucas push the envelope and give you something new version. So I knew that going in. And I would expect that from the first movie of the three part, you know, saga. And you know, I felt it delivered on what it promised pretty well. Yeah, the only thing I'd say, again, at the same time, that's also its downfall, because a Death Star 3 wasn't really necessary. And when you look at it on the multiple viewings, it just seems like if it was just tagged on there kind of thing, rather than it be like a natural throw. There's no reason why the end battle just could have been like the First Order coming to the planet and then defeating the first wave, you know what I mean? Like, of fighters and stuff, and just do something kind of different. But, you know, they did what they did. That was my only big complaint. I had little nitpicks, small nitpicks, and I'll get through them right now. One, I didn't feel that Kylo Ren needed to take his helmet off until when Han Solo asked him to. When Han Solo turns around and goes, "I want to see the face of my son," that should have been the moment. That really should have been the moment. But anything prior before that, it was unnecessary and kind of made him feel, you know, his presence was lost. You know what I mean? And I felt it would have been much better there. The other thing, I just felt Princess Leia should have hugged Chewbacca, because she don't know Rey. It's like, who's this girl? You just met her for like 2 seconds. You know what I mean? Like, why are you hugging her? Unless of course, you know, she is related to a Skywalker or something, and they have a plan with these movies. But yeah, you know, which yeah, we'll get onto a bit later. The other nitpick, and this is more fan service than a nitpick, but if I did the movie, you know, when Han Solo gets shot, yeah, I would have had Chewbacca do a Incredible Hulk, fuck up some stormtroopers and rip their arms out of their sockets. So, you know, but we didn't get it there, but we did get it later on in Solos, which was a plus for me, because like, that was Chewie's movie for me. I enjoyed Solo. But
yeah, well, let's just touch on Solo while we're there. So again, you know, I think it was probably the one that fans wanted the least in terms of, you know, if they were to ask for the particular movies. There's a completely different cast to what, you know, we'd seen before. You know, it was wondering, is he going to be doing an impersonation of Harrison Ford doing Han Solo kind of thing? But as a movie, I thought it was really good for the fact that, you know, went through so much trouble in his production, the fact that it was kind of shot and then, you know, the directors got dismissed. They brought in Ron Howard, shot a lot more of the movie again. You know, I think it was a high percentage of reshoots for that. And I think for what they delivered, I think they did pretty well. And actually, I left there feeling I want to see more. And spoilers, if you haven't seen it, you know, that showing of Darth Maul at the end, I was like, oh wow, you know, that was not something I think anyone knew was coming in that movie. So yeah, I thought it was a real positive.
Yeah, I mean, back to Force Awakens. The pluses, the huge pluses was loved Finn and Poe, loved their chemistry, loved the new characters in that movie. You know, I felt, you know, I know people felt Mary Sue in that movie. I did not feel that way about her in that movie, but I quite enjoyed The Force Awakens, and I enjoyed the lore. I liked the idea of the Knights of Ren. I was like, who is Snoke? Who are these guys? Why are they looking for Luke Skywalker? What are they searching for? What is their plan? What is Snoke's plan? Who is Snoke? You know what I mean?
That was the point of the movie. It set up loads of questions
Yeah.
which we wanted to see play through to the next.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I thought it was a brilliant setup. Thought it was a brilliant setup, and it was an enjoyable ride.
So
but
Sasha,
yeah.
what do you think about Solo?
Solo was the movie I least wanted to see, mainly because I couldn't picture anyone but Harrison Ford, and we already had young Harrison Ford. Its only negative is, it's still, even after watching it, is that, you know, was it necessary? Not really, because you don't learn anything more about Han that you did. You know, he didn't really grow in that movie. He was just Han Solo. But saying that, I did like the origin. You know what I mean? Like, I did like the origin and how they went about it, because they stuck to certain beats that had to be, you know, when you deal with a character like Han Solo, where there's a lot of backstory in the expanded universe, which isn't canon anymore, but there's a certain, you know, like a comic book, there's certain things that need to be in there that as a fan you'd like to see, like him and Chewie, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, how
Meeting
they
for the
met,
first
how they
time.
connected. Yeah,
Exactly. Him winning the Falcon from the game of Sabacc off of Lando Calrissian and stuff. The Kessel Run and all of those stuff. I liked how they had little Easter eggs, like the skull from the Han Solo book in what's his face, Paul Bettany's like little lair and stuff, and they had a Sith holocron and stuff like that. I like little Easter eggs that they had up in there for the fans. You know, it was definitely a movie that was full of fan service that nobody saw, and you know, I was totally against it. But when I saw it, like yourself, Ken, I really wanted more from those characters from that world, and I think Alden Ehrenreich and what's his name, Childish Gambino did a fantastic job in the roles. But yeah,
cool. Neil, Sal, any thoughts on Solo?
I can't lie, I was actually slightly disappointed with Solo.
Okay.
I think for me personally, I felt that in Solo, if your only experience with these characters were the films, then all you had was 3 films that gave you a mystique about Han Solo, right? And I feel like, personally, I feel like Solo, they tried to spoon feed you the character in terms of his things in. Like, I felt like the storyline was done in such a way that they shoehorned things into it that could have essentially been their own, essentially part of their own film. So like, I didn't like that. I mean, I like the fact that we saw Han win the Falcon. I didn't like that it was basically almost like an after credit scene. I like the fact that we got to see the Kessel Run. I didn't like that it was just basically done so quickly. It was like
they've tried to hit so many beats within the film that people want to see the character.
You know, you could have, to me personally, I'm just like, you could have treated that character, because let's face it, if we talk about, you know, in the long list of beloved Star Wars characters, Han Solo is easily top 5, if not top 3. And I'm like, that's a character that you make a film about him, you have to treat them with care. And I felt like the care wasn't. I felt like the person who cared the most was probably what's the name, Alden Ehrenreich. Ehrenreich. Sorry, right. He was the one who cared the most, and that's only because I know that he was the one who basically went running to Disney and was like, "Yo, these guys are gonna fuck up my movie."
No, exactly. And I think, you know, maybe some of the heart and the care was taken out of it because of the production problems. You know, we don't know. So Sal, any thoughts on Solo?
Well, actually, I liked it, but it did take me a couple of minutes to get used to the pace, and I think that's where Neil's problem comes in, because the pace was slightly slow, and all those particular scenes, when it came to it, it didn't really have that big of a build-up, and they sort of went pretty quickly.
Yeah.
Rather than, you know, them exploring that much, and for that, I think it falls through. But at the same time, I actually enjoyed them more, that and Rogue One, than any other
Well, yeah,
film
so
that came
let's
out
touch on
recently.
Rogue One as well. So the other spin-off movie. So Rogue One was 2006.
Sorry, Ken. Sorry to interrupt. There's one thing though that I absolutely did not like about Solo.
Go on.
Oh, it's on.
The fact that they were like, "Oh, what's your name? Han. Are you by yourself?" Yes. Solo.
So you're
Like,
good.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree with
way
that.
more
I'll give you that.
respect.
Yeah,
I just
way too corny.
deal with
That was
everything
like a
else.
that was a
except
trailer
Solo.
soundbite, wasn't it?
Mm.
So Rogue One 2016. So this was like the first spin-off that obviously Disney produced. And for me, I think they smashed this. I thought it is fantastic.
It was my favorite.
It's probably my favorite of the new Star Wars movies that have been released. You know, I do really enjoy Force Awakens, but if I think about it, it ticks so many boxes. It brought new characters, new worlds, but at the same time delivering into that original story and those plot holes and that kind of stuff. I thought the aesthetic was fantastic, and I don't know what I expected, but at the end, when everyone's gone, I was like, oh damn. That's it. There is no sequel. All the characters are gone.
Yeah, exactly.
And I thought that was really refreshing. And we know again there was some reshoots again at the end of that movie. If you look back at the original trailers to what we finally got, the ending seems very different. The original trailer had like what's the main character's name? I've forgotten her name.
Jyn Erso.
So yeah, she's running along the beach like with the hard drive kind of thing, but you don't get that in the end. Like the TIE fighter attacking her at the end. There's lots of bits and pieces that have kind of taken out and changed around. So we'll never know exactly what the original ending was, or if it was just a different way to get to that same point. But yeah, gents, what were your thoughts on Rogue One?
Yeah. Well,
Actually, generally.
Oh, and Darth Vader coming. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, goddamn. I'm like, goddamn.
The thing about all these three, the new trilogy that came out, and then Rogue One and Solo coming out, I think one of the reasons why I like Solo and Rogue One is because it detached itself from everything else.
Mm-hmm.
It has its own story, and its own pace, had its own characters, own small bits and pieces, but you knew the world, and they nicely fit in.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is, you could easily use that in Rogue One and Solo, but I found it really difficult in the three trilogies simply because it seems like they haven't moved on when it comes to technology, culture, the way to do things. I mean, come on. I mean, if what's his name? Mark Hamill's character, my brain just gone blank. Luke Skywalker, if he's like 50 now years old, right? There must have been some progress and different ships, different things, man, for Pete's sakes. Really, it seems like they just looked at the stuff and go like, let's mold it into a new furniture, a new furnishing. It's the same stuff, but it looks a little slightly different. The what I call the swords and everything, like everything had just a little different new design rather than being actually new. It's just been, the inside is the same thing, outside slightly different. And with the Rogue One and everything else, it was because we knew they were precedents. They came before the original trilogy. It works perfectly, and all the actors were pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, Donnie Yen was brilliant in it and stuff like that. Again, a different side to the Force and a believer of the Force that we hadn't kind of seen before, which was fantastic. Neil, what were your thoughts on Rogue One?
I genuinely feel like Rogue One is arguably it's got to be top 3 Star Wars films of all time.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe top 2. Like, I mean, I feel like it's when I think of Star Wars, like I try to think of it in the order that they were released. Mm-hmm. So in my opinion, we have the original trilogy, we have the prequel trilogy, then we have the new batch. I can't call it the new trilogy. We have the new batch. And that new batch, the second film in that new batch was Rogue One. And when you think all the way back to the original, like the feeling that people must have felt leaving that cinema, in like 1979, after watching Empire Strikes Back, leaving the cinema and being like, fuck, what happens now? Because of that ending, I'm like, I didn't leave the cinema like, fuck. Because in my head, I was like, yeah, I knew you lot weren't going to make it.
Yeah.
But to see the way it happened, to see that, because think that is the only Star Wars film up until Solo. That is no, in fact, Solo doesn't count. That is the only Star Wars film that has no lightsabers, no Jedi or Sith,
No.
and no use of the Force. Well, I
was going to say Vader.
Yeah.
The lightsaber.
It's basically like you think of that film, and you think the way that film is constructed. You take Vader out of it, and there is nothing that tells you the good guys are gonna win.
Yeah. And then there's nothing really that tells you it's a Star Wars film if you take Vader out in that sense. So it's it is very, very different. So okay, we'll touch briefly on these two, but we could end up talking about these all night in terms of The Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker. We'll try and keep it as concise as I can. The Last Jedi enraged me in how I felt coming out of the cinema. I felt not disappointed, I was angry at it. There were so many things that disappointed me, the way they treated characters, storyline choices, character choices. It took me to an all-time low with Star Wars. Obviously, then I watched Solo in 2018, and I was like, okay, well, I kind of enjoyed that. Rise of Skywalker, I guess my expectations were bottom. I didn't know what to expect. And for me, Rise of Skywalker was fine probably because my expectations were so low. But for me, it dealt what it could based on the last movie, where it was trying to please fans who liked The Last Jedi, but then it appeased fans who didn't like it. It was an impossible task based on what that last film had left. And I think the biggest thing that came out of it was there never seemed like a clear direction. There wasn't anybody in control of those movies in terms of his production and his story. There's talk they had like this kind of overarching storyline, but the fact that Daisy Ridley's come out and they still didn't know who her relation was whilst they were filming. Oh yeah, you might be Luke's daughter. Oh, you might be Han's daughter. Or you might be Palpatine. They were making up as they were going along. And that was the most disappointing thing. Is like you've got this huge franchise, this huge history, this Skywalker saga, and you've got no Skywalkers left. And it's just like that was a huge disappointment for me. So Rise of Skywalker, it was fine. I took the Emperor for what it was, and because you knew you were coming from the trailers and stuff like that, and it's just like, okay, let's just get to the end now. Let's finish it. Guys, try and keep it concise. What were your thoughts on that Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker?
I'll go first. Confusion all the way through. I don't understand why Luke Skywalker was there for only a few minutes. I mean, he was going to teach her. Well, what happened to that? I mean, they showed her a couple of scenes where she's sort of teaching herself, right? Because he's started to sort of he's on a walkabout or some shit, and then he dies. And then the rest of it, like, to me, I never had any hope, really, because I thought this is going to be a ripoff and I'm just going to do this. Simply because when I watched the first one, I think the third time, I thought, they have taken out a lot of clips from so many of the original trilogy that I have no idea the other guys are going to do the same thing. And truth be told, I felt they weren't that way because I kept on seeing certain bits. The way it had happened before, they were doing it the same way, except they were forcing it to link and there was no story to tell. I still don't know what the hell was those two parts were about. Are they going to give us new Jedis or not?
Yeah, it felt like J.B. Abrams is like, here's all the questions you need to answer. It's like, I'm not interested in those questions.
Yeah, because I mean, I was hoping there would be a new Jedi, and then I was like, we get a new Jedi, and we get a new series of Jedis. No, I mean, who wants to see any of those people again? I mean, great actors, but who cares?
Yeah.
I mean, at least I don't.
Neil, your thoughts?
You know what? With Last Jedi, the first time I watched it, and I'm not the only person who experienced this because a number of people have experienced this, there was a malfunction in the actual screen in the cinema, and that malfunction ruined my concentration of the end of the film. So basically, in the last like 15 minutes, the lights came up like the film was done. then they went back down,
Mm.
then they went back up.
Mm-hmm.
So that kind of threw me off balance. So already I was like, from the moment where Luke gets his hand on a lightsaber and just dashes it over his shoulder, and I'm like, that is your father's lightsaber.
I think I actually reached over and grabbed Sasha when that happened.
Right.
I think we were sitting next to each other. I grabbed it like, did I just see that? You know, it's just like.
Yeah, and the thing is, it was already a moment. Like, it was already, because I went to the midnight screening and I was sitting there watching it, and the person who I was going to watch it with wasn't able to come. So I was sitting there by myself, sitting there watching this film, and it happened, and I was like, wait. And I could see at my peripheral vision people like looking at each other, and I'm like, okay, I'm not the only one feeling this.
Yeah.
And then it was like, the best way I could describe it was like, you know how most people talk about a film and they classify it as a roller coaster?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That film was like, it was like a roller coaster that you didn't know if it was working or if it was broken.
Mm-hmm.
It was going along, and you're like, is this gonna break down on me halfway? Or it's a bit
I felt it was like the 13th floor or whatever it is, you know, the tower one where you just start at the top and drop. So,
right.
That's the roller coaster I was on. It's just, I was here looking for, I was so excited, then drop all the way down.
Yeah, and the thing is, I felt that way, and then I watched it again, and I was really disappointed because I was like, okay, I can't blame this on the lights now. This is the film.
And I think the reason why I think I got off to such a bad start is Sasha and I went to the midnight screening, but we did the double bill. So we rewatched The Force Awakens at like 10, and then it finished, went straight into the next one. So you got this hype of rewatching all that, the excitement and everything of Force Awakens, all those questions. You're like, yeah, it's back in my head. Yeah, I want to know what happens there. What happens there? It finishes the movie with a handoff. The movie starts with the handoff, and he's like, boom. He's like, yo, I haven't just waited like a year, 2 years.
Three.
Like, I've just watched this and now you're doing this straight. It's like, it's just so fresh. That's what I heard. Sasha, try and just, if I said to try and do it in a minute, go on. How did it make you feel, those two movies?
You're on mute.
Sasha, you're on mute.
First off, I got to go for the good. Okay, I've got to say what I liked about.
That's cool. Won't take too long.
About The Last Jedi. All right. I know a lot of people have problems with Luke Skywalker. Okay, but he is both the best and worst thing about that movie.
Mm-hmm.
The best thing is, I do solemnly believe Rian Johnson when he said that you know, Luke Skywalker now would be a completely different person than what he was at the end of Return of Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
If you look at Luke Skywalker in each and every one of those Star Wars films, he's a different guy in each film. In A New Hope, he's a farm boy who's very optimistic and very, you know what I mean, whatever. Empire Strikes Back, he's now, you know, a competent war hero. You know what I mean? He's a commander. He's Commander Skywalker. He, you know, he's arrogant because he thinks he can do everything, and Yoda shuts him down. Do you know what I mean? Like, and he is a little bit, you know, like his father, too much of his father in him, and then, you know, gets beaten down like the bitch that he is by his father. You know what I mean? Arms cut off. You should have listened to Yoda. You know what I mean? And then Jedi, man's a bad man. Okay. Man's a bad man, hands down. Minute he enters Jabba's palace, chokehold some fucking Gamorrean guards, and you know what I mean. Like he's the greatest. Then obviously, you know, you've got to change the character up, and I get that. I agree with Rian Johnson. He should be different in Last Jedi, grumpy mentor kind of guy, and you know, shuts himself off from the world. The why was rubbish. The why was the worst why. You're telling me that Luke Skywalker, the most optimistic beacon of hope, would fucking go and have a meltdown because his nephew had a dark thought?
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Like, this is a guy that saw the good in Darth Vader, fucking guy that committed genocide. You know what I mean? He was Goebbels to Hitler. All right. Yeah. His nephew has a dark thought. Of course, he has a dark thought. He's a fucking teenager. All right. Like, The other thing I liked about it, I liked that Rey's parents were nobodies. Okay, you know what I mean? After what they did with Force Awakens, it just would have been weird if she was a Solo and Leia just sent her off to go to Luke and not told her anything. You know what I mean? And I just think, you know, Obi-Wan never had kids. You know what I mean? In the lore, the only woman he ever loved was Queen Satine of Mandalore, and she dead. Okay, she dead. All right. So it's like you know, I'm glad they didn't go the Kenobi route. I really like the idea that she was a new character that we could see bring a new kind of lineage to the saga and do something new with her. But they didn't do that. They looked at all the fan theories and stuff. It was like, oh, she has to be the next Skywalker or Solo or Palpatine or something. You know what I mean? Like it you know, I liked what Rian Johnson did there, because you've got to understand, when Luke goes into the cave, his whole quest in that holy trilogy, in the original trilogy, when he goes to Dagobah and does the Jedi test, okay, when he goes into that cave, it's about facing your fears, and his whole quest is about, in the trilogy, is about finding his father. You know what I mean? And then the whole thing about that test is that it's him, he's fighting himself, he's fighting his father. You know what I mean? His father, you know, that's the worst thing that could happen to the character. Rey's story, as set up by J.J. Abrams, is that she doesn't know who her parents is. She's been left on Jakku. So the worst thing to ever happen to her, because you've got to understand, she's been waiting for them to return to find her. The worst thing that could ever happen to her is that, you know what I mean, they were nobodies, or they'll never come for her again, and that she's alone. You know what I mean? And I thought Rian Johnson handled that brilliantly. In fact, it was probably the only thing well developed in the whole damn movie, you know. And I didn't mind Snoke dying, the idea of Snoke dying, but it had to deliver more than what we got. We needed to know who Snoke was before we got to that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So so that was a letdown. That was both a good idea, yet a letdown at the same time. I do get why he would have chose to kill him off, because if you had him be the new big bag, we're just going to get a repeat of the throne room scene in Return of the Jedi for the next movie. Unfortunately, we got it in the second movie, and then we got it again for the third movie. But as for other stuff that I hated about it, yeah, the whole damn movie. I hated everything from the beginning, when BB-8 is trying to fix his fucking ship, and him telling your mama jokes to fucking Husk. Yeah, to Husk at the start. I was like, he was a competent kind of general kind of character in the first film, and now you've made him a joke. And then yeah, the disrespect that R2's barely in this movie, that upset me. And yeah, just movie sucked. For more info on why I hate this movie, check all the podcasts I've ever done about it. I'll let little. I don't go in depth, but I have a different reason every week. Trust me.
That's it.
But,
that's the new things keep coming up all the time.
Yeah.
Also, check out the Creative Control podcast with Neil and Sasha, where we actually rewrite episode 8 and 9. We'll probably rewrite it again now. That's just how we were feeling at the time. Because,
are we not going to talk about Rise of Skywalker?
If you can squeeze it in, go on, squeeze it in.
Was it? Well, once upon a time, the end.
Yeah.
I'll summarize that. I could go shorter. What I liked about it, nothing. What did I hate about it? What did I hate about it? Everything, start to finish, shit. I want to walk out the opening crawl, okay? And the whole thing is Palpatine lives. Done. You know what I mean? Thank you. If Palpatine lives, you just more or less made the 1 to 6 pointless. You know what I mean? 1 to 6 is now pointless. They've thrown the chosen one out, made her the chosen one, or whatever, Dark Force diode, whatever that. And more importantly, if the whole setup for Force Awakens is they're looking for Luke Skywalker, the First Order, which is run by Palpatine now, because obviously Snoke wasn't the brains of the fucking operation. Palpatine's looking for Luke Skywalker. Okay, that's the whole point of that first movie. We get given that in the opening crawl. Okay, and what the fuck is all this fucking Sith Wayfinder bullshit? where Luke and Lando are trying to find Palpatine. Isn't that the worst fucking Marco Polo fucking, hey, I'm looking for you, but I'm looking for you, but I'm looking for you. I can't find you. What the fuck is that shit, man? Seriously, it makes no sense.
Yeah,
Makes no sense.
the whole story just fell apart.
Yeah.
It really,
So yeah. Anyway, go on. I've ran
so
over.
we've talked about what's happened with Star Wars since Disney has taken over. So now we need to talk about what's next. Okay, so Star Wars, what's next? So the next official film in the lineup is going to be Rogue Squadron. So this is going to be directed by Patty Jenkins from the Wonder Woman franchise. The story will introduce a new generation of starfighter pilots as they earn their wings and risk their lives in a boundary-pushing, high-speed thrill ride movie and move the saga into the future era of the galaxy. So Patty Jenkins, they did this announcement at the end of last year, and she was very excited about it. Her father was a pilot, and so she's always had a passion for planes and fighter jets and stuff like that. And she said it made her want to make the greatest ever fighter pilot film that ever existed. She said she never found the right story, she never found the right project, but now her two of her loves have combined in terms of fighter piloting and Star Wars, and she's excited to make this movie. I was pretty excited to see this movie until I saw Wonder Woman 84, and now I don't know how I feel about this, because the way she treated jets in that movie was a joke. So how do we feel about Rogue Squadron? What do we want from it? You know, do you want to see what Patty Jenkins can offer? Would you, say, no, I want somebody else to do it? What are your thoughts on Rogue Squadron?
But I share your what I call feelings about that, because I think we, in the last podcast, what we done on Creative Control regarding redoing or rewriting the last two parts of Star Wars, I told you that I was super excited about this film because it's like, when it comes to Star Wars, the one thing that your kid attaches to, everybody had the saber. I was attached to those squadrons, man. Those were my favorite things. And yeah, right. After watching Wonder Woman 1984, I don't know what to feel about it. I generally don't know. But at the same time, I don't know who to, push to be in that part as a director or at least screenwriter. I mean, I hope she gets somebody else to write the damn thing.
Well, she won't be writing it. She's not down to write. She'll be directing. So from a directorial point of view, I think she's got the talents. I just don't think.
All right, great. If she's not writing it, then I'm happy. Yeah. Because, I mean, looking at her history, where she has help or somebody else is writing the script, those films have done well.
Yeah.
And if she's writing herself, well, we watched the last one, Wonder Woman. I don't know what the hell that is. And when you're right about the what I call treating the jets stupidly. I mean, she literally picked up the only jet that cannot fly to Egypt from North America and flew it to Africa somehow.
Oh,
brilliant. Anyhow, it is the only one I'm looking forward to when it comes to all of this. I mean, I will watch all the TV shows that are coming up, and we'll talk about it in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
But when it comes to films, it's the only one I'm looking forward to because I have no idea what was it Taikiki? No, Waikiki. What? I can't pronounce his name. Yeah, I have no idea what he's doing. Yeah.
Okay.
Does anybody know what he's doing?
Squadron?
Yeah.
Like you, I was like, okay, like she did Wonder Woman, like she's done, and the things she did before Wonder Woman, I was like, all right, cool. She got the chops, she can do it. Then I saw Wonder Woman 84, and
yeah,
literally like I sat there for the 2.5 hours or whatever watching Wonder Woman 84, just getting more and more irritated.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then the film finished, and I was like, cussing. I was cussing because I sat there and wasted, parts of my December watching that film. But then it clicked in my head. I was like, hold on, how's she gonna do Star Wars after she just did that? Right?
Yeah.
I was like, listen, Star Wars fans, right? We've run the gauntlet, okay?
Mm-hmm.
We've had our high moments and our low moments, right? We have suffered enough. We don't need no more suffering.
No, something that just kind of stuck in my head is like I was like watching Wonder Woman, sort of like going, oh no, and then you look over and see her attached to Rogue Squadron, and you're like, oh, no. It's like it was just like, yeah, but anyway, Sasha, thoughts on Rogue Squadron?
Rogue Squadron. Okay, so Rogue Squadron, the actual brand has meaning. Okay, huge fan of Rogue Squadron. I collected the comics, the Dark Horse comics, as a kid in my teens and stuff. I've got every single issue ever. Okay, I've got all the Michael J. Stackpole novels as well. And obviously, if you're an old school fan from that era and those comics, it was clearly tales based after Return of the Jedi. You know what I mean? And based around, with original trilogy characters. And the leader of Rogue Squadron was Wedge Antilles, Ewan McGregor's uncle, for people that don't know. So the name Rogue Squadron, first thing a Star Wars fan's going to think is, where's Wedge? But when you look at the logo they did, it's not OG X-Wing, it's a more recent era X-Wing, being sequel trilogy X-Wing. So we're not going to get Wedge. Or maybe we will. Maybe they will cameo Dennis Lawson as a cameo role in the film like they did Rise of Skywalker. Maybe they'll pay him the mad money and have him be an advisory role, and it's the new cadets and shit. But the thing is, when you look at the sequel trilogy, quite clearly Poe Dameron is, the leader of Rogue Squadron then, and quite clearly you've got the guy from Lost in it as well, the cop guy from Hero, he's in there, and it's about those guys. So I don't know. Here's the thing: if you wanted to excite Star Wars fans, you say Wedge Antilles is the guy. You know what I mean? Front and center, the guy. And you know what? I'm not even against a recast of the character. It doesn't have to be Dennis Lawson. Dennis Lawson doesn't want to come back to Star Wars, really, not on a full-time basis. And the main reason is that's not even his voice in the original trilogy. He got dubbed by a US actor. So getting an actor that looked like him roughly, back in the 80s, like a recast, set in a, original timeline, in a original trilogy, I'd be balls deep in for that. You know what I mean, personally. But because it's set in the sequel era, I don't care. I actually don't care. But, show me. You know what I mean? I'm in this place where show me, and if it's good, I'll be impressed. But my thoughts on it now, I have no thoughts. I'm like, cool, whatever, just impress me. You know what I mean? I can't shit on it from high because I don't know who's writing it, etc. Sequel trilogy doesn't excite me. It just doesn't.
Do you think they could use this as an opportunity as a spin-off for the Poe Dameron character, so that maybe he is running a cadet school and it's a bunch of new people coming in?
They could do that. They could do that, but the thing is, Oscar Isaac has said and confirmed he's not coming back unless he needs a new house. So you know what I mean? He's like more or less.
And he's got Moon Knight. He's got Moon Knight.
And he's got Moon Knight. And
you know what? He says that, right? And I'm sure Disney's gonna be like, all right, where'd you stick all that dynamite?
Yeah,
like,
but
it's under Poe's house. Don't worry, we'll be back.
but this is the thing, though. This is the thing. It's that era of Star Wars is so jumbled up that people aren't excited for it. You know what I mean? A large amount of the original fan base don't want to see anything from that era. You know what I mean?
I mean, to be honest, we might be better off as a clean slate. And it's like, look, the Skywalker era is done.
Yeah, exactly.
We're done with, we're done with Rey. We're done with Finn. We're done with Poe. We know Finn ain't coming back. So, it's just like, that is what it is.
And that's why.
Let's go with a fresh new world.
And that's what made Rogue One, Mandalorian, and even so. The thing is, when you have a character like Solo, even though Solo was a good movie in my eyes, you get people like Neil that had a different kind of expectation for it. So do you know what I mean? You're always like tiptoeing over what you're fucking up. Whereas if you do the Rogue One, Mandalorian kind of route, you know what I mean? You've got a bit more creative license to do what you want to do. You know what I mean?
And Mandalorian is a perfect example of taking a very small part of the Star Wars world, a very limited number of characters, but creating a world and a story that you really care about. And it's the effects have been done brilliantly. They're able to film a lot more in real time, so they can see the environment and stuff they're working with and that kind of stuff, which makes a huge difference to the production. But I suppose for Rogue Squadron, the anticipation is it's going to be a lot of dogfights, right? It's got to be a lot of action. It's got to be a lot of basically just set up in space. They might have some ground fights and aerial fights, like low ground up in space. That is pretty much going to have to be the climatic thing. And so I suppose from that point of view, it's going to be a bit of a spectacle. but it's about bringing us new characters that we'll actually care about.
You know what it needs to be?
Top Gun in space.
Yeah.
Exactly that. That's what you need to do, right? It needs to be Top Gun.
I feel the
in
need,
right?
the need for light speed.
I tell you, right, for me, I think the perfect way to kind of like sew everything up in a nice, neat bow would be to have the character of Wedge Antilles, have him there as like the old man who is like running the training school. And, you know, he's like, you know, he can be that old senior guy who's like, you lot ain't shit. I was there.
Recast Dennis Lawson, enter Tom Cruise. Boom.
Yo, that'd be amazing.
Don't think I'm not even gonna lie. I'm not even gonna lie. This might upset some fans, but like I said before, Dennis Lawson was dubbed. He doesn't want to be there. Fine. You need an A-lister. You don't get bigger A-lister than Tom fucking Cruise. You know what I mean? And like, I'm sorry.
But the thing is, Tom Cruise will want to film it in space. He'll want
exactly
the travel at light speed. There's gonna be some big demands on that movie.
Yeah, totally. But no,
he's like, look, man, Elon Musk just blew up a little while ago, right? It's like we ain't got time to go into space, Tom.
Yeah. But I mean, for me personally, I mean, like, if I had creative control on Rogue Squadron, I would recast Wedge Antilles. I'd go to Dennis Lawson and try to convince him. But because I know he's kind of like, nah, I don't want to do it, I would recast Wedge. I would base it around the characters of the books and the comic books, and I would create an original Top Gun in space, post Return of the Jedi kind of world. You know what I mean? And if you want a cameo from someone, hey, put in a bit of Mando because he's in with the kids right now. You know what I mean? Like,
it's when they're the kids.
Yeah. So there you go. But yeah, that's what I would do. You guys?
Yeah.
I would just get a brand new characters, brand new everything, simply because we all know we'll fight at the end of the day. One's there, one's not there. So when it's completely clean, it's either everybody happy or nobody happy, sort of a thing. So I think, but when it comes to like what Sasha said, you get a lot more room when it comes to creative control. Yeah.
I'm just trying to think of the guy's name, but I thought of a perfect recast, I think, for Wedge. This is going to annoy me now.
What movie is in?
Hang on. Mark Rylance.
Oh yes, bloody hell! Oh yeah, he could.
Oh, was an older Wedge.
Yeah. So Mark Rylance. So he was in Bridge of Spies. He was in
Spielberg's go-to guy. BFG.
Yeah, exactly. And he was in Ready Player One and stuff like that. So I think he could play that, and he could be that guy in charge of that that cadet school. So
he's really good. Yeah.
Okay, so the next movie up in the movieverse of Star Wars is the so far untitled Taika Waititi film. So when it was announced, it was said a brand new Star Wars feature with the acclaimed filmmaker and Academy Award winner Taika Waititi is in development. Taika's approach to Star Wars will be fresh, unexpected, and unique. This was Kathleen Kennedy. His enormous talent and sense of humor will ensure that audiences are in for an unforgettable ride. To me, they are just going to let him loose and do what he wants. Pretty much
the better
in like Thor Ragnarok style, where it's like ad lib, make it fun, make it different to anything else we've seen before in Star Wars. And I'm for that. I have no issues with that. I think he's a hugely talented director, writer, actor. I don't think there's anything he's done I haven't enjoyed. So what are your thoughts on him taking on a Star Wars movie?
I'm really for it. I mean, I'd love to see a Jojo Rabbit version with Darth Vader in it, you know, where instead of Hitler, you got Darth Vader.
Maybe they'll take it back and it'll be Ben Solo talking to Darth
Vader. Maybe. I don't know. I mean, he definitely does have a fresh approach to all of his projects. They all are different. None of them are alike. But one thing's for sure, that each and every project has humor in it. So I wonder if there will be humor in it. And if it does, it will be different to Star Wars. Because we all remember the New Hope had humor in it from what I call Han Solo,
Mhm.
and that's it really. So it could be fun. I'm looking forward to it, but I have no idea what it's going to be. So that also kind of puts more weight to it.
Mhm.
You know, more excitement to see what was going
Yeah,
to
it's the
happen.
unexpected, isn't it? Sasha,
Exactly.
what are your thoughts?
Got no opinion whatsoever. Show me, don't tell me. You know what I mean?
Okay.
At this point, but because it's Taika Waititi, and I'm going to go completely left field. If it's more comedic, no, you know what? He did the good episode of Mandalorian. He did the final episode of Mandalorian season 1. So it shows me that, you know, maybe it might not be comedic. Because here's the thing, he did, yeah, it had comedic elements, but Star Wars sense of humor isn't necessarily for Ragnarok, etc. But if that is what they're going for, let's say that is what they're going for, hey, there's one character that can benefit from that and redeem himself in a big way. He's been absent for like 20 years. Give him the Jar Jar Binks movie, I'm in. Okay, and now I've just scared
I knew
everyone.
that was coming.
I've scared everyone. You thought it as well?
I knew that was coming out of
Think
you.
about it. My man does digital characters really well. If he could make fucking Jar Jar the next Korg and make it work, people would love him for it. And hey, if you're a coach for a football team, go with the failing option and make it work. You'd be praised for life. But you know, aside, I don't really know what this thing is going to be.
He's Brendan Rodgers.
but I know what this thing's going to be, so I can't really get excited about it either way. You know what I mean? So until we have an announcement as of what it is or whether he's actually doing it, because you've got to understand, Chris Hemsworth is hot property. Yeah, he's re-upped at Marvel, but you know what I mean? Like, I could imagine the next Thor doing well, and Marvel would just be, yeah, fuck that Star Wars project. We want you back for another Thor. Do your trilogy.
Yeah, I mean, he's also
You know what I
down
mean?
to be
So-
writing the new Flash Gordon movie as well. So he's got 2 space epics coming up.
See, that's just it. So
That's his wheelhouse, I think.
yeah, so
And Neil, what's your thoughts on him doing a Star Wars movie? I mean, like you said, he's shown his directing capabilities in Mandalorian, but that's not something he's written. But it looks like he is writing and directing this. Do you think he's going to surprise us with, you know, something a little bit more subtle? I don't see it being a you know, like a Thor Love and Thunder or Thor Ragnarok. But what do you think he might try and go for? Or what, as a creator, or would you ask him to do?
Well, I mean, to be honest, if I were Disney, I'd literally just be like, okay, look, here's $200 million. Go have fun, right? Here's your release date. I'll see you then, right? But at the same time, I do think that I don't know. I feel like he's not gonna try and like. I think because he's so intelligent, I think, and because his humor is so very him.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're kind of like under. I feel like to a degree we're kind of under the impression that he'll do it in the Ragnarok, Jojo Rabbit kind of way, and I feel like with that, it's sort of like I'm not expecting that.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like he'll take it more in line with something like Mandalorian.
Mm-hmm.
Like it'll be his version of something to that degree.
Well, I mean, he can direct a lot of heart. So I don't know if you know this, but the Coca-Cola Christmas advert of last year, you know, where the kid writes a letter and the guy's trying to get a letter to Santa.
Yeah,
Taiki, he directed that.
Uh-huh.
That was him.
That was him. You know, so he crops up all over the place doing lots of different little projects. Because again, you know, he's actor, writer, director.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was a short that he did. Like Sash said, he did Mandalorian. He's done some TV shows. And I think he's got a lot of range. He actually directed 5 episodes of The In-Betweeners.
US one.
Yes, unfortunately. But you know, it's I think I watched 1 episode and I had to quit. It wasn't good. but yeah, I suppose he appears to be someone of a particular style, but I think he's actually got a lot of surprises in what he can deliver. So yeah, it's gonna be really interesting to see. So in terms of the other movies, obviously there's loads of TV shows which are coming up on Disney Plus. We've got the Obi-Wan Kenobi series where Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen are coming back. We've got the Ahsoka series, which is going to be a spin-off of Mandalorian. We got Rangers of the New Republic, which is set in the timeline of the Mandalorian. John Favreau and Dave Filoni, again, are going to use their stories to kind of intertwine with that. We've got Lando, so brand new event for Disney Plus. Justin Simon, creator of the critically acclaimed Dear White People and a huge Star Wars fan, is developing the story. We've got Andor, so it's going to be like a spy thriller created by Tony Gilroy. Is due out in 2022. Diego Luna's reprising his role from Rogue One, so we're going to see more of that character, and potentially, obviously, if it's based on that timeline, we might see other characters reappear for some, appearances. I think we've got Genevieve O'Reilly as Mothma and stuff like that coming back. We've got The Acolyte. So Leslie Headland, Emmy Award-winning creator of the mind-bending series Russian Doll, is bringing a new series. It's a mystery thriller that will take the audience into a galaxy of shadowy secrets and emerging dark side powers in the final days of the High Republic era. We've got Star Wars: The Bad Batch, which is we were first introduced in the Clone Wars. And then, we've got Star Wars Visions and a Droid Story, so some more animated series and stuff like that. There's a lot going on Disney Plus in terms of the shows. Are there any of those which you would say, I would like to see a movie of that instead? Or are there other properties you're like, this is what we should be exploring? This is a video game that I want to see as a movie. This is a story that hasn't been told that I want to see. If you had creative control, what would be the subject story or something that you would take to the big screen?
I got a question. With the Mandalorian, when it ended, what was the show that it introduced at the end of season 2?
The Book of Boba.
Right. Yeah, I am quite interested to see that. I mean, that as a TV show would be good, but that as a movie, I think it would be great if it's big heisty sort of a thing. But I'm also interested in what it called. Is it Ahsoka?
Ahsoka.
Yeah. Ahsoka.
Yeah, there is a Rosario Dawson.
Rosario
Right?
Dawson.
Yeah, that. I've not seen Clone Wars yet. I know she's in it, and I'm gonna start what I call next week, the Clone Wars, before what I call the Bad Batch comes out, so I can see that in time. But I am definitely interested in seeing that as a movie, because I don't know, somehow it feels like there's a lot more to that character and a lot more stories with that character attached to it, at least what I've heard from people. So yeah, I like to see those two.
Neil, what would you take to the big screen? Any of those projects or something different?
You know what? I think, even though there are aspects of it that I'm not a fan of, I don't like, I think I would say The Acolyte. Because my whole kind of feeling of why I love Star Wars is the whole Jedis and Sith. I love, the idea, like, I'm a huge samurai fan, so anything with swords, you got me. And I'm like, you space laser sword, like, sold. Right? So, like, and the thing is, I feel like sometimes when you make a film from the quote unquote villain's point of view, you get to embrace things a lot better. You get to push things out a lot better. So I feel like that would be the way to go, because of everything that they've announced, The Acolyte is the only thing where it's like, okay, you're talking about dark side. Dark side means Sith for the most part, and it means villain for the most part. And I'm like, run with that. Me personally, if I had sole complete creative control, it's gonna be, initially it would have just been a bounty hunter, but now that obviously Mandalorian's come out, it will be Mando. He'd be hired to hunt down a character, and then he'd be investigating it, and that character would be Jar Jar Binks, but it would be like my man George's original vision. He's a Sith.
Yeah.
I don't give a good damn what anybody says. I'll be like, yep, Jar Jar Binks is a Sith. He is a Sith Lord. When everything was going down, he was like, okay, I'll be the secret apprentice. And then when he started seeing, you know, like Count Dooku get killed off and then Anakin become Vader, he was like, you know what, bro, I'm just gonna chill. I'm just gonna sit back. I'm gonna let you do what you're doing. If the shit don't work out, I might pick up the pieces. And he's basically like the way we saw Darth Maul at the end of Solo, where he's just like a gangster. Bro, just have you know, flipping little Jar Jar Binks, just have him running that. I'd have him as a total gangster, and I'd have it that every time you see him or come across him, he's like, you know what it'd be? It'd be the usual suspects, and Jar Jar Binks is Kaiser Soze. That's what it would be, right? It'd be the usual suspects in space, right? Jar Jar Binks is your Kaiser Soze. He'll be there helping whoever the main is. If it is Mando, then it's Mando, but he'd be there helping him out. And for the entire time,
you got to throw Jabba in there as some gangster.
Yeah, it would be all whatever gangsters you need in Star Wars. I'd be having them there, and they would all be doing the bits, and it would literally just be this whole gangster thing. And at the very end, he just switches, and then you're like, oh, "Son of a bitch!" He was the whole time, because someone showed me a picture, and it was a picture of Jar Jar Binks, a picture of Darth Maul. It was Jar Jar Binks from Revenge of the Sith, a picture of Darth Maul from Solo, and a picture of someone else. I can't remember who that third person was, but all three of them were wearing the same symbol. They were all wearing the same symbol, which is like the mark of allegiance to like criminals kind of thing, right? And it was like the caption just read, "You thought we didn't notice, but we did." And I was just like, look, man, I'm good with that, because you know what? It works perfectly. The whole time you're looking at this unassuming guy and you're like, oh, this guy's a dickhead. And then he turns out to be, you know, the biggest criminal in the universe. I'm like, yeah, I'm cool with that now. Because now I respect you for playing the idiot all this time.
Yeah.
Thing is, though, that only works if there was no Count Dooku. The whole point of the whole Jar Jar Binks theory was that was supposed to be revealed in Attack of the Clones, and that was changed, allegedly changed, because there's been no verification. There's been none. It's just speculation.
The actors hinted towards it in interviews, but not directly come out and said it.
Has he though? I've not heard that. Okay, that's something new that I've just heard. But I was under the impression that it was a big fan theory. No one's confirmed or denied that by any official capacity. That I do know. But you know, to be able to make use of that, you can't have Dooku, and that's because of the rule of two. You know, quite frankly, it's like there's only a master and an apprentice. You know, you know, there hasn't been a Sith sighting in a millennia pre Phantom Menace, so you've got to work within the confines of canon, kind of thing. Otherwise, people are going to go fucking nuts. You know, which is a bit of a thing, which is why I'm actually not looking forward to The Acolyte at all, because what's it, Lindsay Headland, you know, I saw her in an interview, she was giving very blasé kind of answers about Star Wars in general. What's your favorite Star Wars? Oh, you know, I like all of them equally. It's like, cool. So no one likes them equally.
No.
I mean, no one does. What's your favorite bit in Star Wars? Oh, that bit in the new one, you know, with Rey and what. It's like, what? Okay, cool. What do you like about Star Wars? They asked her, and she was just like all of it, everything. You know what I mean? She was very blasé. She don't know what she's talking about, and they've given her it. All right, cool. She might do a good job, because Tony Gilroy did the reshoots of Rogue One, and he knew nothing about Star Wars.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? He knew nothing about Star Wars. He just knew how to make a good movie with
Mhm.
what they had. So, you know what I mean? Like, we'll see. However, you know, the Acolyte, you've got to understand, that is bridging this whole High Republic thing that they brought out. I've not read the High Republic, and I'll put my hands up to that. But the stuff I'm hearing out of it sounds terrible. But I can't confirm or deny how bad it is because I've not read it. So I'm not going to trash it.
So what would you bring to the big screen then? What would you think is the next movie that you would put out there? Is it a new trilogy? Is it a standalone? Is it like a Vader movie? You know, it's like take Rogue One and just.
So are we just
multiply
talking movies and stuff? For me, you know what? Movie, I think TV shows are where it's at for Star Wars, to be honest.
that? You think there should be a bit of a break?
I think there should be a bit of a break for the movies, to be honest. I think what they're doing TV wise is the perfect move. I think, yeah, I'd like a few spin-offs into movies for sure. But to be honest, it all depends on who's attached, whether they know the lore and stuff. And until Lucasfilm sort out their internal problems, I'm not going to get excited for any of these projects. You know, I'm really scared for Kenobi. I'm really scared they're going to fuck it up. Because again, like Solo, you've got a tiptoe amongst canon and boundaries and stuff. You know, they've got to do certain things. You know what I mean? It's better to go with something where you've got an unlimited, you know, kind of thing. And that's the problem with Star Wars. You know, I think TV shows are easy to dismiss, but when they're great, you could, you know what I mean? Everyone's going to talk about it, you know?
So fans are talking a lot about Knights of the Old Republic. Is that something that you would think that could be the next movie in terms of?
I would rather see a TV show.
Yeah.
I'd rather see it as a TV show because as a video game and some really good novels that are out, which Neil has read. I've not read the novels, but I've played the games.
Brilliant.
You know, as a movie, you know, when you play a game, you know, it doesn't translate well into a movie per se because you've got 2 hours worth of screen time to hit all the beats, get this in, get that in.
But what if that was the next trilogy? What if they span that over a trilogy, over a trilogy?
It'd be like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
That Knights of the Old Republic is so dense.
Yeah.
Reference, so dense with knowledge, so dense with just a rich history of its own. Like it's so rich that it doesn't even necessarily need to be like, you know, you look at the Knights of the Old Republic and you think of how far before A New Hope this stuff is set, or how far before A Phantom Menace this stuff is set. Like, and it's so rich, so dense. It's literally the equivalent of like, how can I put it? It's the equivalent of like, I guess for say like a Star Trek fan, like you have the original series and then you have Next Generation. The gap between those two is infinitely shorter than the comparison between Knights of the Old Republic and Phantom Menace.
Okay, so if
I would, but
you
back to your question, what would I adapt? I would adapt Knights of the Old Republic, but as a TV series. Hands down. The two things I would adapt is Knights of the Old Republic and what's it? Tales of the Jedi. And Tales of the Jedi, Knights of the Old Republic, I've played it once. And I enjoyed it. Do I think it's the greatest Star Wars game ever? I don't think it's the greatest Star Wars game of all time, but unlike some people, but that's because I'm into other genres of video games. But story-wise, yes, it's very rich and really good. It has great characters, and I think it would really benefit from a TV show. As for Tales of the Jedi, you can't make that as a movie. You can't. It's impossible. It's absolutely impossible. But to do it as a TV show, like Game of Thrones, not violent-wise or nudity, you don't need any of that, but I'd say Game of Thrones in scale, because, you know what I mean? Game of Thrones is Lord of the Rings, but the TV version, but because of TV, what we can do now is huge. Like, you could really go places.
I had bigger budget than Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, so you could really go to places with Tales of the Jedi, with and both with Knights of the Old Republic because of the vastness of it. I don't think Star Wars on the big screen. Like, look, if you'd asked me this question pre-Last Jedi, I'd be naming stuff. I mean, like, you know what I would do though if I was to make a movie now? If I was Sacha Laurie, a director, I'd be like, yo, Liam Neeson. Liam Neeson's a big name. Okay, I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll do a Qui-Gon movie. I'll make it in vein of a Star Wars version of Taken. You know what I mean? Have a particular set of skills, and everyone loves Qui-Gon Jinn. You know what I mean? Everyone likes Qui-Gon Jinn. I'd do that movie. Fuck it. You know what? I'd do a Mace Windu movie. You know what I mean? Because people want to see Mace Windu doing shit. Samuel L. Jackson's been itching to come back. I would do that movie. I would do you know what I mean? Like that.
What about stuff like Darth Bane or the Force Unleashed?
Well, Darth Bane is part of the Old Republic, so I wouldn't touch that as a movie.
Banging that drum for years.
Yeah. As for the Force Unleashed, unfortunately, Force Unleashed has been retconned by Disney themselves. You can't do the Force Unleashed now because of the events of Rogue One, mainly because of Rogue One. Rogue One, a lot of the story points from Rogue One retcons the Force Unleashed completely. You could take that character though. You could take that character and put him in the new Star Wars canon somewhere. He would be an Inquisitor. If you watch Star Wars Rebels, there are like 9 Inquisitors now. You can make it, and there are a couple that we still haven't seen. You could make him one of the Inquisitors and take story points from that, and maybe but adapt it in a completely different way. But unfortunately, that story would be completely different because of the existence of Rogue One. So you got to understand, with the EU, with all the expanded universe, you could adapt those characters much like a Marvel movie, but you've got to understand whatever you do would have to be changed to what Disney have established with what they've put out there and what they say is canon. So that's just it. That's why I wouldn't go with a movie, and that's why I'd probably do a Qui-Gon Jinn movie and a Mace Windu movie, because you know what I mean. One, we know who these movie stars are. We know exactly when they're going to be set. Qui-Gon's totally going to be set before Phantom Menace. Hell, you could get a child as Obi-Wan. Yeah, I mean, him teaching a young Obi-Wan going on adventures across the galaxy, bringing law and order, you know, because they're Jedi doing their shit. I'd watch the shit out of that movie. You know what I mean? Especially if it's a Liam Neeson movie. But I mean, like, again, if you'd asked me this question 5 years ago, I would have said, yeah, Knights of the Old Republic. I would have been like, oh my God, this, oh my God, that. But it's like, you got to really think about what serves those stories better. Is it TV? Is it films? And, you know, the way TV has exploded now because of shows like The Mandalorian and stuff, you know, TV is a much better, more interesting place to tell these stories now. And I think Star Wars on the big screen, it's just become a bit too risky. It needs a break. So,
yeah, and I suppose that's the thing now. Obviously, because of Disney Plus and The Mandalorian, it's shown us a way of seeing Star Wars in a different light. It's shown us a way of being able to spend more time with characters and particular stories, and shows like Game of Thrones, you know, where it was huge and epic, and the stories would evolve, and the way that, you know, it would go into so much depth about the characters and their history and the past, and you know, you think, I want more of that. You know, I don't necessarily want everything stuck in a 2-hour movie and shortened down and stuff like that. So maybe Star Wars, the best thing for them is some of the big blockbusters, is the movies like Rogue Squadron, where it's just a bit more bang, you know, here's 2 hours worth of some action and go for it, you know, as opposed to thinking we always have to do a trilogy, we always have to do, you know, continuations of stories. Just do one-off pieces, you know, and just throw it out there and just say, look, here, enjoy yourself for 2 hours, don't worry about the bigger picture, these are some characters, have some fun.
I mean, 5 years ago, back on Zeno's Gang, you know, I talked about what I'd do with the Boba Fett movie. That was the standalone I really wanted to see.
Yeah.
And you know what I said? I said back then, I said it needs to be done like an old school Western. It needs to be a bounty hunter. I want to see him doing bounty hunter thing. But my idea was based on a pop-up book, actually. It's based on an actual existing pop-up book. And it's basically, my idea would have been the journey from Bespin, Cloud City, to Tatooine, delivering Han Solo to Jabba the Hutt. And basically, you know, those other bounty hunters in Empire Strikes Back, where you got Bosk and you got, IG-88 and all of those guys. All of those guys, spaghetti western style, across the galaxy, trying to capture Han Solo as the cargo and bring him to Jabba the Hutt. Then when he gets to Jabba, Jabba's going to double cross him. He's got people, you know, his people over there to fuck up Boba Fett. You know what I mean? That would have been it. But you know what? I got that in a whole new way with the Mandalorian. And the biggest difference is they more or less gave us a brand new character, which meant he wasn't tied to what Boba Fett is. And then when they gave us Boba Fett, they gave us Boba Fett. You know what I mean? Like, they gave us Boba Fett. So it's been done. That idea is gone. It's redundant. You can't do it now. You know what I mean? And it was on the card. The Boba Fett movie was supposed to be directed by Josh Trank. You know what I mean? Yeah. And then Van Forstic came out, and then they were like, "Yeah, we're not doing that." You know?
Yeah.
So
and the Game of Thrones writers, they were supposed to write a Star Wars trilogy.
Yeah.
That didn't happen. You know, there's been so many changes. As much as it's been announced, they pulled a lot of stuff as well.
But if I had creative control at Disney in general, I'd be like, "Yo, John Favreau, Dave Filoni, you guys are in charge now. You're the Kevin Feige's now. Now sort this shit out." And you know what? I wouldn't have to second guess. I'd be like how I am with my Marvel. I'd be like, "They got this.
Just do what you want." Yeah, we trust you. We trust you.
Because they've built the trust. They've shown it in shades. But you know, when I look at stuff like Kenobi, where I should be really excited about, not excited. I'm like,
he's probably the one I'm most nervous about.
Yes, exactly.
It's the one I'm so excited to see what they do with it, and how they bring Hayden Christensen back, and what stories they're planning on telling, and how much of he is, you know, is it just going to be all Darth Vader? You know, it's so much to question about it. It's so exciting, but yeah, it's really nervous. It's like you could really tarnish these characters and just, you know, it could make the prequels look excellent. It could be a continuation of that, and you think, oh wow, this is brilliant. I really like those characters, and I like the actors who played them, and just take it from there. So it's really interesting. And what do we think about Hayden Christensen coming back? You know, he's hasn't done a lot of stuff. You know, I mean, if he's going to be behind a mask.
Well, no, he has done plenty of stuff.
Quite a lot of stuff actually, but they're mainly like streaming movies. I mean, he did
in terms of like box office draw, obviously he's not.
Oh yeah, sure.
Oh yeah, nothing. No, but I mean, he's been working. I think he's Canadian, isn't he?
Yeah.
Is he not?
Yeah, he's Canadian.
Yeah, I think he did a lot of work back home. I don't think he has done that much in Hollywood that much. I mean, he sort of disappeared, but every now and again, you know, on an Amazon back catalog, you get these Canadian shows. You switch them on, he's there. You're like, all right, the guy's still alive. But I like to see him back. I agree with you though. I am definitely nervous about that because too many old names are coming in. Too many old names of some movies that I not really liked. The prequel trilogy that was. But let's see. I mean, they can do a lot with it. This new technology, what they're using with Mandalorian, I mean, this could slash the budgets quite a bit and can help them tell great stories. And I hope they use it well.
Do we expect to see it largely Obi-Wan and Darth Vader? I mean, because obviously, yes, Hayden Christensen's coming back, but if he's just coming back to play a suit, what's the kind of point? Do you know what I mean? Are they going to be doing? Yeah, it's going to be a lot of flashbacks, them training together, de-aging them, maybe, and all that kind of stuff, and just to build up on that relationship more than maybe we missed out, and maybe replace some of the stuff from Clone Wars.
Yeah, you've got to understand. When Ewan McGregor was cast for Obi-Wan in The Phantom Menace, you know, he was like, what? I think he was like 29, playing a 19-year-old. You know. And then you got to understand with Attack of the Clones, there's a 10-year time jump.
Yeah.
There's also a 5-year time jump between, well, that could be more now, depending on how long the Clone Wars actually is, because, you know, that time gap keeps changing, you know, with the more shows they make and stuff, you know. But like, you know what I mean? There's a time jump. There's a time jump. And what you got to understand is the age he is in Revenge of the Sith is the age he is now. So you got to understand that Hayden Christensen and Ewan McGregor were always playing older than what they actually are, if that makes
Yeah.
sense. Well, more Ewan McGregor than Hayden Christensen, but and now's the time they and if you look at Hayden Christensen, he hasn't aged that much, and even Ewan McGregor, Ewan McGregor's got the crow's eyes and stuff, but makeup can sort that out. You know what I mean? And plus, anyway, he should have had that in the last movie. So there's loads of little stuff. I mean, how big a role is Hayden Christensen going to be in there? We're just second guessing now. If I had creative control, I would do probably 1 or 2 full episodes where you really show them in the Clone Wars, showing their relationship as master and apprentice, showing their dynamic and stuff, to basically make us go, we don't have to watch the prequels if you weren't into the prequels. You know what I mean? Also gives Hayden Christensen a chance to redeem himself under a different director and and a better script. On top of that, for people that kind of frowned upon him, if that makes sense. And also, I'd probably film Hayden Christensen with flashback sequences for other stuff that, to further the story. Maybe other times, in their relationship when they were friends, or where he sees them as a father figure, etc., etc. Because you've got to understand, Obi-Wan Kenobi's, he's a veteran of the Clone Wars. He's probably suffering from PTSD and stuff. That's something I would have done. Stuff I would have. Now this is the problem, because now I'm saying stuff that I would like, which I'll probably never get. But I would have.
That's the point of the show, bro.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So all right, if we're going there, all right, 3 seasons.
3
seasons. All right. And everyone's like, you can tell 3 seasons. At first, like everyone else, I was like, I don't think I can tell 3 seasons, but this is what I do. Season 1. All right, season 1. The main thing with season 1 is that Obi-Wan's a protector of Luke Skywalker. He just watches over him. He's there just in case shit goes down. You know what I mean? In case someone comes to find Luke and whatnot. Now, why do I say someone? Disney themselves invented the Inquisitors. Okay, they're Dark Jedi. They're not fully fledged Sith, because there can only be 2. They've got them searching the galaxy for Force users, basically, to execute them or go, come join us or die, you know what I mean? Kind of thing. And they're basically the guys that Vader sends out, across the galaxy, because Vader can't be everywhere. He deals with like superpowered Jedi. You know what I mean? You maybe have an opening scene where Vader executes like a Jedi master who's been in hiding. You know what I mean? Because they're all in hiding and stuff. And then you've got Inquisitors out there doing the dirty work. So basically, that first season, maybe Obi-Wan does go to nearby planets. Maybe he's a drunk down at Mos Eisley. Maybe he does little jobs for Jabba the Hutt. You know what I mean? Because he needs an income, right? He needs to, he's got some skills. You know what I mean? And he's hiding the fact that he's a Jedi. Maybe he doesn't have his lightsaber with him because he's in hiding. Because if he gets outed, you know what I mean? He adopts the name of Old Ben. Now, within the 3 seasons, it's about, you got to understand, he gave the Lars, Owen, and Aunt Beru a child. Okay? We need to explore that dynamic. And we've got to get to the point where this guy that gives them the child of Anakin Skywalker probably make him like John and Martha Kent. You know what I mean? To a degree, where, they're raising this child. He has abilities, but he's unaware of it. Not go full Superman with it, but you know what I mean, have that conversation that he's a special child and shit. Maybe also have that whole thing that like they trust Kenobi. You know what I mean? But obviously when you get to A New Hope, they don't want that man about. You know what I mean? They don't want him anywhere. They don't want him to know his dad. They don't want nothing. You know what I mean? So you have to have like that breakdown between Kenobi and the Lars. You know what I mean? What is the drama that goes on there? I want to explore that. I want to see that. That should be the heart. That should actually be the heart of the whole thing. The family dynamic. And why the family dynamic? Because that's what Star Wars is about. It's a soap opera. You know what I mean? It's the family dynamic. They're the family. Now, the other thing is, as a fan, and this is filling up plot holes from the 6 films that we never see. As fans, we find out that what do you call it? Jimmy Smits, Princess Leia's foster father, sends Obi-Wan on a mission from the Clone Wars. We never see that. Even in the Clone Wars cartoon, we never get that moment. So why don't we show it in this show? See those 2 episodes I mentioned with Hayden Christensen? That's the mission. You know what I mean? Whatever that mission is, creative control, we just like make what blah blah. You know what I mean? Like whatever. You know, just do it. Just fill up that plot hole. Everyone's happy. All right, or happy-ish. Now, season 1, like I said, the main antagonist. Yeah, Darth Vader's in it, but he's like, you know, at his Star Destroyer. Maybe have a Grand Admiral Thrawn or Peter Cushing cameo. You know what I mean? Throw in that shit. But the main antagonist is an Inquisitor. You show there's more than one. You have a particular Inquisitor. He comes to Tatooine. You know what I mean? And it's basically Obi-Wan's trying to protect the child and make sure that he doesn't find out about the child. And more importantly, executing that motherfucker before he goes back to Vader. That is the whole point of season 1. Season 2, this is where I give people what they want, and everyone's overlooking this. Okay, Vader has to be the villain for season 3. Okay, who is my villain for season 2? You see, there's someone out there in the galaxy around this time looking for Ben Kenobi. His name's Darth Maul. I want that showdown. Everyone wants that showdown. I'll give him Darth Maul and show Darth Maul why. Go into why Darth Maul can't reveal himself to the Emperor, because you know what I mean. At the end of Clone Wars, the Emperor wants him gone. He wants to take down the Emperor. Maybe he, you know, there's loads of stuff you can do with Maul. There's loads of stuff you can do with Kenobi. But the thing is, whatever happens to Darth Maul can't die in it because, you know, because of Rebels. But in Rebels, when you meet Maul in Rebels, he's stuck on a Sith planet. Okay. And it's the Sith planet from Knights of the Old Republic. You need to get him to Malachor. You've got to have a showdown between Kenobi and Maul at Malachor and leave Maul on the planet. Kind of Khan style, Ratha Khan style, where he's just like, Kenobi! You know what I mean? Because like, he's stuck on this planet, he can't get off. You know what I mean? And it's kind of like, hell, on that planet is ancient Sith knowledge. Maybe fucking Kenobi's like, you want that knowledge, you can keep it, and he leaves him there stranded, and he's like angry, and he wants to kill Kenobi. You know what I mean? And that's it. He, you know, and you could also have maybe, because at the end of Rebels, Maul's journey of Rebels, he gets a sense that like Luke's got something to do with the Chosen One. Okay, so maybe Maul's putting it together. You know what I mean? In that thing, and it's again protecting Luke. You know what I mean? And we get, more importantly, we get the lightsaber rematch that everyone wants to see live action. That's my season 2. Season 3, Vader. You must confront Vader. And this is the most important confrontation. If they get this wrong, I'll be pissed. In Return of the Jedi, there's a key word, there's a key thing, and a key theme. Okay? Luke always thought that Vader betrayed and murdered his father, but what he tells him is from a point of view, right? Thing is, okay, he's like, he turns around to Obi-Wan, he goes, but I can't kill him. And he goes, I once thought as you did. When did Obi-Wan ever once thought as he did after Vader had turned? Last time we saw Vader, he was burning up in a fire ball. Okay, there was no I thought as you did. There was none of that. It was a mano a mano duel to the end. But you know what? Maybe he did once think as he did. Maybe he thinks he can turn Anakin. Maybe he goes from one last mission to confront his old apprentice and turn him back to the good side to take down the Emperor. Kind of thing.
And they hint at a previous duel in A New Hope, right? So it doesn't relate back to their one in episode 3, but you feel there's been something in between.
Yeah, I don't know about that in A New Hope, but yeah, I do think there was a previous duel, because in Jedi, he says you once thought, you know, they both, even Vader says to Luke, Obi-Wan once thought as you did, but you don't know the power of the dark side. Yeah, you know what I mean? I must take you to my master. You know what I mean? Like we never get that in the prequels, but we can do that in the show. You know what I mean? But whatever that end lightsaber duel happened, the end of that lightsaber duel Kenobi should be left dead. Vader must believe that he has killed his old master.
Yeah, yeah.
Because when you get to A New Hope, you know, he's confused. He's like, hang on, he's dead. You know what I mean? Everyone's convinced he's dead. You know what I mean?
That's what I mean. There's that
Yeah.
thought process that something's happened prior.
Yeah. So
And
those are
what
the,
were you going to say?
Well, that's what I was gonna say. Is like the way he talks, and he was like, "Oh,
yeah,
I sense something, a presence I haven't felt
Yeah.
since." Right
Yeah.
now, the way he talks, like as you clearly pointed out at the end of Revenge of the Sith, right? The man is there looking. He's there looking like barbecue shrimp.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah, yeah.
cooking. He is not in the position to be like, okay,
I sense his
while
presence.
while I
Yeah,
was
he's-
cooking, you know, you just happened to die in the aftermath. No, right? If anyone would
he's like, you took my lightsaber,
That's
bitch.
what it is. If anyone would know that Obi-Wan is alive, it would be Darth Vader. It would be Anakin Skywalker. He would know because he'd be like, nah, you beat me and then ran away. There's no fucking way in hell that you did that and then just died somewhere. Right? So he would know. He would say, so you're right. He would have to have there would have to be a battle between them, a duel that the end leaves Obi-Wan on the verge of death, and then maybe even if it's a similar situation, but maybe you slightly reverse it. So like their battle was on Mustafar, maybe you put them on a battle, maybe it's on Ilum, maybe they have a battle on Ilum, right?
Yeah,
because Ilum is covered in ice, so maybe they have a battle on Ilum, and then he leaves him there, and he's just like, there's no way you can get off this planet. There's no ships. There's no nothing here. I'm going to leave you the way you left me, dying, just here like that. Peace out, and then just bounce.
And then Yoda comes and saves him.
I wouldn't have Yoda.
Maybe-
I wouldn't have Yoda. He's on Dagobah. I would have Yoda force project himself and show up, and they communicate through the Force. I would have Liam Neeson. I would have Liam Neeson show up throughout, being a guide. You know what I mean? Kind of like how Obi-Wan was. He'd be the main guide. Because Yoda's still alive, they can still communicate through the Force. I'd show that side, and I'd basically show like Obi-Wan trying to do like whatever training to attain like that Force Ghost shit. You know what I mean? That's basically a quick line in the prequels, But the other thing, there's other thing this thing pronounced, because I've made Darth Maul such a big entity in season 2. You know what else I'd do? Fuck it, give us everything everyone wants. As Leo says, just give me instant gratification. That's not the only lightsaber fight I do. I do Darth Maul versus Darth Vader. I would do Darth Maul versus the Emperor. I'd do both those fights. Why Darth Maul versus the Emperor? Well, you got to understand, Clone Wars, he goes toe to toe with Palpatine. Him and his brother, him and his apprentice go toe to toe with Palpatine. They lose. I'm not saying he's going to win, but he's definitely mad enough to go for a round 2. You know what I mean? And you've got to understand, Maul around that time is the Maul from the Solo movie. So he's got all these criminal organizations working for him. You know what I mean? He's got like, and also, he's the head of Mandalore around that time.
Yeah.
If I'm correct, I can't remember. Does he have the dark saber? I think he might do. So yeah. No, he doesn't. He doesn't have the dark saber. I'm a bit unsure. I need to rewatch. But someone correct me in the comments below. I'm unsure. But you could do so much, man, with more being in that show. But like I said, season 2 it has to be like 3 seasons, man. But
All right.
yeah,
I like where you're going with it. Okay. Any thoughts on Sasha's epic 3-season show?
Let it happen.
never gonna happen.
We'll tag everyone the hell out of it on Twitter. You never know.
Let it happen, Sasha. I said, let it happen.
Let it happen.
Yeah. Or maybe I put in too much. Maybe people are like, no, this is terrible. But you know.
Well, sound off in the comments. Let us know your thoughts on what we discussed today. Do we think the Rogue Squadron is going to do something well? What about Taika Waititi? You know, what do you expect from his Star Wars movie? What do you think about the TV shows that are coming up and some of the potential stories that's going to be delivered there? Let us know. Gentlemen, where can people let you know what they thought about your opinions?
Let me know what you thought on the Neil Coppin on Instagram.
Yeah, I'm not gonna listen to your opinions. You could just, if you don't like it, just write it below here at Creative Control. Otherwise, you can't find me at.
You want to let Ken take all the heat.
Oh well, you can find me at Sal_F1 at any of the social medias.
Sasha?
Flashman3 on Twitter.
And you can follow me at Ken and Talks Film on Twitter, Instagram, and all the social medias. You can find all our episodes on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon Music, Spotify, Stitcher, SoundCloud, any platform where there's a podcast, you can pretty much find us. We are everywhere. We're like a virus. If you like what we do, please subscribe, like, share our content. Let us know some of the ideas for future episodes of any topics or movie franchises you would like us to discuss. And, thanks very much for listening. Until next time, may the force be with you.